Hello, this is your P.S.H.E for Lesson 4. Today we're talking about managing risk, drugs and alcohol in the media. Your LC is, can I understand that mixed messages about drug use exist and that these can influence? Your LC is, can I understand that mixed messages about drug use exist and that these can influence people? In this lesson, we'll be able to identify mixed messages in relation to smoking or vaping and alcohol, analyze key messages, suggest who they are targeted at and why, describe how these messages might affect a person's thoughts, feelings and actions, and explain what would help a person to make informed decisions about health and where they could find reliable information. Okay, thinking bubble, you can write this on your page. A young person, aged about 13, so slightly older than you, is looking at an advert, film or TV program which is about smoking or vaping or alcohol. Draw or write about what you can see. In a think bubble, write what they are thinking about this. So what are they thinking? And what would they be able to see? What would that look like? Have a think, where might a person see or hear messages about drugs in the media? Or in posters, for example. I want you to look at the posters in your pack. Think about the key messages in each one. And also, why do you think there are mixed messages about alcohol and smoking in the media? On the next slides, I'm going to put up some of the key messages. See if you agree with them, but give yourself a chance to look through the posters first by pausing the video here. Okay, here's one for smoking. Now, it's obviously to put people off smoking. They're the kind of adverts that we see now related to smoking, ones that discourage it. The key messages here are smoking is bad for your health, that smoking could lead to death or fatal diseases. And I know some of you have already mentioned from our science learning some of those warnings that are put on cigarette packets. You might say that smoking is a waste of money, and it's telling you not to smoke. In this poster, it's stating that there's a chain here and that almost people are attached with that chain. So it's a figurative image, figurative language in our head. Don't be chained to smoking, because of course we've learned through science that it's easy to become addicted and that it's a habit and a hard one to break. So again, the message, break the habit or don't smoke in the first place. In this one, so many ways to vape. So this is quite different from the other cigarette posters we've seen so far. It's saying that they're quite interesting gadgets, that there's lots of different types to choose from, and it's encouraging it by saying there's so many ways you can do it. And of course, we've learned through our science that the evidence isn't there fully to say whether this is a healthy thing. But when compared to smoking a cigarette with all of those thousands of chemicals, which we learned about, then it might be preferable on balance. Better choice than the cigarette, but still not perfect. This poster, well, we have two clinking glasses and hearts and stars and positive. This poster's telling us that parties will include alcohol, that if you drink, you'll have a good time, that there are certain times of the day to drink, so for example, a party, that alcohol's fun, and in many ways it's actually encouraging alcohol. However, we have learned from our prior learning that too much alcohol can have many negative effects on people. So this poster gives us a mixed message. Perhaps if it's stated like adverts for alcohol do now, that people should drink responsibly, we see that on all alcohol advertising now, then that might balance that message a bit more. This next poster, real men drink real beer. Well, of course, firstly, that's a sexist point of view. It's saying only men drink beer, and that's completely wrong, firstly. It's saying that beer is the best drink for men. And then it's saying that if you are a real pit man, then you will drink beer. But of course, this is nonsense. But it can influence people. That's what advertising does. It influences people. This one. This is more of a negative. Drinking affects your thinking. You can see the rhyme in there. That might stick in people's head. But also it tells us the important scientific point that alcohol does affect the brain. It's unhealthy. And it suggests people maybe should think twice before they do, because alcohol does have an effect on the behaviour of people, because it has an effect on our brain. Okay, I want you to choose one of those posters then from your pack. Imagine a young person looking at it. Think about what might make the young person think, feel, or do. Then do the same with another poster. What should the young person actually do? Should they drink that alcohol? Should they take that cigarette, and why? Think about what would be an assertive response from the young person. Now, if you're wondering about the assertive responses, think back to our last lesson. We looked at different types of responses, so this builds on our prior learning from that. Now, thinking about the sources of information, which do you think will give the most reliable and accurate information about drugs? Place them on a scale. You may wish to do them from left to right. You might wish to rank them in order, but there they all are. Which will give you the most reliable and accurate, so truthful information about drugs? Do you think you get that from an advert on a bus, train, or an underground? Do you think that you get that from a friend? Do you think you get that from a parent, a teacher, in a P.S.H.E lesson such as this, a TV documentary, a website such as the NHS website, a news story, or a story in a film or book? Which would be the most likely to give you the most accurate information, and which would give you the least accurate information, the least likely to give you the accurate information? Have a think about that. And if you wish to choose only the most likely and the least likely, perhaps one in the middle, you can also do it that way too. Now, just to reflect on our learning, go back to your think, feel, and do worksheet. Think and imagine that you are giving advice to the young person looking at the adverts, the media adverts. I want you to write them a message. Write them a message using sentence starters such as, you might think that, but this might not be reliable because. Some facts about the effects of smoking or vaping or drinking alcohol are, and somewhere you could get information is. Give the advice to that young person who was looking at a post just like we've been looking at. What would you do to influence them